We're Storefront. Here's actually a little sneak peek of some of the new branding we're going to be rolling out with in the coming weeks. And today we're here to talk about the future of retail. This is Erik, my co-founder, and I'm Tristan. We started Storefront about a year and a half ago. And what we have created is a marketplace that connects artists, designers, brands, some of the most creative people in the world, to short-term retail space, otherwise known as pop-up retail space in cities. And we've opened up over 1,000 stores in the last year and a half. So it's a number we're incredibly excited about. And it just shows the major trend of how retail space is changing in cities. And it's becoming much more dynamic and accessible from a day to a week to a month. And there's much less 5 to 10 year leases that are happening. And we got into this because we're makers for life. Whether that's art or business, we're always thinking about creative ways to improve our cities, improve our lives. This is a little example of an early Michelangelo I did.
That was not last week. That was from like 4th grade, so yeah.
Not recently. And this is the problem that we saw. We saw there's a lot of gray space in cities. There's sidewalks and walls and chain link fence and vacancies. And the community didn't have a huge say in what was being put into cities. They were built fast, and now we want to see how we can continue to make these urban communities more vibrant. Because 1 in 10 stores are sitting empty. And that was true a year and a half ago when we started Storefront. It's still true today. And that's on average across the US. And there's 28 million small businesses and entrepreneurs, emerging brands that would love to utilize that space and continue to grow their business and find different distribution channels that are less risky and less expensive. And 1/6 of all people in the US actually work in the creative industry. So that's working for an ad agency or starting their own design group, or they're an artist or a designer. And we've worked with everyone from the likes of Nike opening up a store in New York and collaborating with a local designer to Kanye West. And every store that he went to, or every city that he went to, he opened up a store to help engage his customers, his fans, show them his fashion label, and build that experience that made that more dynamic, something different, something that helped take what happens in a city and packaged it up and show that to his fans. So I'll show you a quick video here of Indochino, a men's custom suit company who also does this now. And they started out online only, and now every month for the last 2 years, they go to a new city and open up a store for 2 to 3 weeks.
Indochino was one of the first brands to really make pop-up stores part of their company. It's a bit of a ballet.
We are a men's online customized suiting brand. So we are trying to revolutionize the way men shop online.
And we walk into it and we explain to that landlord, oh, in the next couple of days, this is going to look like a fully functioning operating store. And they kind of look at you in disbelief. They come back a couple of days later and all of a sudden it is a completely fully running operation.
Essentially create a store every month. Set up, take down, running an event, and it's something that we've just committed to doing because we think it's the best way to create a wicked retail experience for guys. We had a lot of customers who had been huge fans of ours online, but they wanted to interact with us more, they wanted some help with styling, they wanted to see and feel fabrics. At the Indochino Traveling Tailor, a guy can come in, we pair him up with a personal stylist who will build an outfit with him, both sizing and all the personalization. And then at the end of it, you swipe your card, you build an Indochino account, and 3 weeks later, you get your garment.
As you can see, they started with a great space and were able to set up that store in a matter of days and have it set up for a very temporary target experience, connect with customers, and really deliver that tactile experience. And building off what Tristan said, I'm going to share with you the 3 trends that we're seeing within the marketplace that's really driving this movement. The first is the 3 economies trend. The second is the personal selling revolution. And the third is retail as an experience. So the first is the sharing economy. This has been well documented. If you're going to share your house or your car, it works great for consumers utilizing vacant space and assets that could be better utilized. And so that's great for consumers and delivering that experience, but we're also seeing that true for businesses. And so for Storefront, that's a lot of art galleries, that's boutique shops, that's coffee shops that have extra space and want to deliver a better experience. They want to connect with brands, they want to increase foot traffic, and they want to deliver a better experience for consumers. And so this is an example of a store in Chicago. You'll see that Anastasia is hosting Satori in her space. This is not a new trend, but we're seeing that in the consumer life, they're sharing their house on Airbnb, and when they have a retail store, they're doing the same. And as a store owner, no longer do I have to go out and do a wholesaling agreement where I'm financially at risk and then have to mark up and sell the products. I can literally get paid upfront, rent out the space with a brand that's aligned with my vision and on product with my consumers, and still get paid and deliver that great experience. So as a retail owner, I have less risk and still deliver a great experience. And as the brand, I'm able to access a store that I previously otherwise wouldn't be able to access because I don't have the money or the experience to run a store, but I can run this little stand inside a shop. And so we've really seen it be incredibly beneficial for both parties engaged in the sharing economy of retail space. The second is the local economy. We've really seen this drive our platform and pop-up shops throughout the US and other parts of the world. One stat here is that in the US, in the last 20 years, the number of farmers markets has grown 700%. And that's really driven by urbanization. People are moving to cities, and people want to connect with the makers and the artists and the farmers that are making the products. You can go into a large retail chain, but it's not that unique experience. And so pop-up shops allow local makers to really connect in a frictionless way to consumers face to face. And the third is the on-demand economy. And so you're used to ordering a car from your phone in 5 minutes, ordering your lunch in 20 minutes. And as a consumer, that's great. You can get what you want when you want it. But that's also true for businesses. And so tomorrow is Halloween. And the trend of Halloween pop-up shops is pretty well documented. There's been tens of thousands that open every year, US, Canada, and so forth. And that's great for the large brands that can afford that. But there's a lot of makers and smaller brands that would also love to be able to set up pop-up shops around Halloween. And so what we've seen just this week is that brands will come to us and rent space on Monday for this Friday. And so to be able to rent a retail space the same week is really something that we haven't seen before and is really exciting. And I think really changes the game for how space is rented and how brands interact with space. And an analogy here is ad buying. So if you have $200,000, $2,000, or $20,000, it's very easy to go online and buy ads and really deliver your message. And that's how we're seeing offline retail space evolve, is how do you purchase that space just like an ad buy. The second is the personal selling revolution. So those three trends, in terms of three economies, really describes how consumers and space is changing. And the personal selling revolution, has really documented how there are so many tools now for those 28 million entrepreneurs and small businesses that Tristan mentioned earlier. So, you look at things like Square or Shopify as a POS. Last week, Etsy rolled out their own POS system. And so, turning your phone into a POS system is incredibly easy. But not only that, you have platforms like Twitter or YouTube or Instagram. And so you have all these tools now as a brand. Not only can I start online, and so I open up a store and start selling through Shopify. Maybe I'll use SoldZ to sell on Facebook. But I'll build that audience and I'll build my Twitter following. That's great. But pretty soon, you're going to realize, hey, I want to sell offline. I want to connect with my customers. They want that tactile experience. And you start to see that there are so many tools out there now for these brands to be able to do that. And so it's not, one challenge that we have is educating the brands that, hey, this is actually fairly accessible for you. In the past, it might be, hey, I need to have $10 million in annual revenue and be over 5 years old and have a perfect credit score to rent retail space. What we're seeing now is, look, you can literally rent a booth at a street fair or a shop in a shop on Valencia or in Williamsburg, and it can only be, it can be under $1,000. And so really communicating the accessibility of it, and it's really powered by all these tools that these small businesses and emerging brands have today, at their fingertips. And that really leads to the third point, is that there are all those tools, and that's great to get started online. But as Courtney mentioned from Westfield Labs, about 95%, depending on the product category, is still offline sales. It's in store, it's face-to-face, it's things like this. And so, as a brand, that's a huge channel for me. And I want to be able to access that brand, that channel, and be able to have that face-to-face conversation. And so we've really seen that, being able to make this retail channel accessible be a huge advantage for our platform. And it really leads to my last point, which is retail as an experience. It's in the 80s, it might have been about how do you go to the store and you get a cart and you're buying products and you're going there to acquire physical products, which is great. But all that's going to be done and is done now through Amazon Prime or Instacart or other services like this, where those consistent, convenient style purchases are going to be standardized and delivered to your door. And so really, as a consumer, you're busier than ever before. You are distracted and have more options than ever before. So as retailers, as brands, as creative people here, we need to understand that the threshold and the bar to set that expectation for consumers is incredibly high. And so we really need to deliver experiences for consumers so that they engage and enjoy our brand, and also will tell their friends about it. And so that's really how we see retail evolving, is that it's going to be about the experiences, not products, and really creating spaces that matter. And so I challenge us to do that. So thank you very much.